So when I first found the bookish internet, it was through Goodreads and the fantasy subreddit. And the fantasy subreddit has a really cool bingo board. And every year I say I'm going to do it. And every year I forget it starts in April. And this year I'm doing it. I have a spreadsheet. I have a plan. I can link down the spreadsheet down below because someone put together a very pretty visual spreadsheet. And I'm not only going to tell you my tentative TBR for doing this on hard mode, because, yeah, going to do it on hard mode. Actually hero mode, but like, I review everything I read, whether it's in a weekly wrap-up or a monthly wrap-up or a review. So that I don't think's that hard for me, since that's just like what I've chosen to do as my hobby. But I'm going to do it, and so I will link down the Reddit bingo thread, the recommendations thread, and the spreadsheet I'm using in the description. And just briefly, the idea of this is to only use one author and one book per square. You can have one reread, but I'm not going to do the reread because that is also cheating. And you could replace a square with a square from a previous year, but I'm not doing that either. I'm going with the prompts that there are. I'm going to do hard mode, and also as I go through this video, I'll make recommendations for certain squares that I think would work for hard mode if you also are going to try out this challenge. It's year-long, like I said. It started at the beginning of this month, and it's going to go till the end of March in 2022. Gosh, how is time a thing? Whoa. Anyways, and so yeah, I have my spreadsheet open, and let's get going. So the first one is 5 short stories, or the hard mode is read an entire short story collection. I've been reading short story collections all year, so this isn't that hard for me. If you want to know short story collections, I'd recommend. I do have the 9 short story collections that I read last year in a wrap-up that I did at the end of the year, so I'll link that in the cards. But if you want like 2 specific ones that I really like, Exhalation by Ted Chiang and Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. Love both of them. One's more sci-fi, like deductive sci-fi, philosophical sci-fi, like about the idea. And the other one is very speculative, horror, creepy vibes. Like not heavy on the horror, but like there's definitely like creepy horror components to the stories. The one I'm going to be reading is actually an anthology, not just one author, but it's one that I've been seeing Njeri talk about, my friend Shannon from That's So Po. Like, so many people have recommended this. It's won some awards, and this is New Sons. It's edited by Nissi Shawl, and it's going to work for hard mode because I'm going to read the whole thing. I mean, that's one of my goals of the year, is to read short story collections, so that works out really well. And so the next prompt is set in Asia, and the hard mode is written also by an Asian author, and I'm doing She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This is based off, I believe, the Ming Dynasty. I could be wrong about which dynasty, but it's based off historical events, and it's kind of set, I think, in another world, but it's Asian inspired heavily, so that works for this. If you want recommendations, we got the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. I have a review for that, and we also have The Sword of Kaigen, and I have a review for that, and I love both of those a lot. Another one you can use is The Poppy War, which I have mixed feelings on, but also would definitely work for this. Our next one is a selection from the A to Z genre guide. So I'll just have, like I said, there's the recommendation thread down below, and you can go check out their list. I have read some of the ones that are on that list, but I'm not going to recommend a specific one. But the one that I'm going to read, because the hard mode is reading something by a BIPOC author, is The Changeling by Victor Lavelle. And I have that, I think, on the shelf behind me. It's on my 21 to read in 2021, so it's perfect to slot in here. I'm going to be reading it. And the next prompt is Found Family, and its hard mode is having the main person in the Found Family be of the LGBTQ community. And this is where I'm going to say, read Catfishing on Catnet. The one I'm choosing for this is Chaos on Catnet that I just finished. Either one from that series would work. The main character is a lesbian, and like the whole Found Family, like everyone in there is part of the community. It's amazing. So yeah, but also Found Family, like, is it not the best trope? I believe it's the best trope. The next one's really hard, and I don't know if I'll really have a recommendation for this one, but this is supposed to be first-person point of view. Now, if you don't want to do hard mode, the one I'd recommend is The Best of All Possible Worlds by Karen Lord. It has one perspective in first person and one in third. But the hard mode for this is having 2 perspectives at least, and it's all in first-person point of view. And I can't remember, and I didn't want to take it out, but I think Spinning Silver might be. I can't remember if it's multiple point of view in third person or first person. So you'd have to check for yourself, but the one I'm using for myself are The Stars Are Legion by Cameron Hurley. I have had this on my want to read for Goodreads since before I knew BookTube was real. Because I read The Light Brigade in 2019 and I'm like, ooh, I like this. Let's read more by this author. And I haven't. It's on my 21 to read in 2021. It's been on my Goodreads want to read shelf for like a century. So I'm going to read it for this prompt because I was told on Reddit that it has multiple point of views and it's first person. The next one is reading something with the Fantasy Reddit book club or a read along. They have so many of these. You can find it in the recommendation thread. There actually is going to be like a Hugo related read along, and I want to read more of the Hugo nominees. So I'm going to do one of those. I don't know which one yet, but presumably I will participate in one of the ones for the Hugos, because that's another thing, is like the hard mode is participate. So I'm going to do that. Whichever one ends up having to work on my TBR. There's a few novels I haven't read. There's a few novellas that I want to read that I haven't read. One of those will work. And then the next one is new to you author, and specifically the hard mode is like, basically what the exact phrasing is, not only have you never read their work before, but you've not heard much about this author or their work before deciding to try a book by them. And that one's Shadows of the Short Days. If you've seen one of my recent Friday reads, I went to a bookstore purposefully to pick a book by an author I didn't know and didn't know much about. And that was that one. He's an Icelandic author. This was originally self-published and then translated to English and then published in Icelandic. Ava and I went down a rabbit hole figuring this out. But this book, I'm very excited for. It seems like it could potentially be like my type of fantasy. It's based off Icelandic culture and history. I'm very excited for it, and I know nothing. It has like 100 ratings on Goodreads. Maybe Justine had hauled it once, but I don't remember it. Like, that's like the knowledge I have for this book. And then for you guys, I don't know who's a new to you author that you don't know much about, but may I recommend Karen Lord? Because I feel like she doesn't get talked about a lot. She is one of my favorites, and if you've heard about her, it was probably through me. Also, maybe Yoon-Ha Lee. It's another one that I don't see around as much. I mean, you've heard about both of those authors on this channel a lot, but do you hear about them everywhere else? Maybe not. I would try either one of those out if they are new to you. And then this one was hard, so if you have recommendations for this, please let me know, but this is Gothic fantasy. My recommendation to you, and it works for hard mode, is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This one's great. It's 300 pages. It has a little bit of body horror, but it's not too bad. It's more like horror because of like, it's like kind of psychological horror to an extent. It definitely has that Gothic feel where you have that old house. It definitely has its influences from the yellow wallpaper and everything like that. So I recommend that one. I have two choices here. One is very well known, and one is like indie. So I don't know, it's like, I could like it, like my friend Lena from Sufficiently Advanced Lena really likes it, but we've got Dracula, so like that's an option. Ryan owns it, I've never read it. Could maybe slot that in October and be like all thematic with a spooky read. And there's Wolfgang by F.D. Gross. And I don't know much about this other than Lena's recently read the third book in that series and really liked it, so if I liked it, I know that each book gets better and that it's like, I think it might be over now. I'm not really sure. But if you have a recommendation, let me know. The one caveat is that for hard mode, it can't be on the Book Riot article list. And luckily a lot of those on there I didn't have like my eye on anyways, but Mexican Gothic is not on that list, so feel free to take that one. The next category is pretty easy. It's backlist book and read one published before the year 2000. For this one, I'm just happening to use Wild Seed by Octavia E. Butler. And here's your option to choose any Octavia E. Butler book. I mean, there's a few that were published after 2000, but like Kindred, I think, is in the 70s. And you should read Kindred. It's a very good book, but I'm going to read Wild Seed. I'm actually reading Wild Seed next month, and I'm very excited. The next one is Revenge-Seeking Character, and revenge has to be a main part of the plot for hard mode, and this one is most likely going to be best served cold by Joe Abercrombie. Yes, I've tried to read this twice, but it was on an audiobook, and I just think the way that that narrator does the female voice is not working for me, and I need to give it a physical read. The other alternative is Rage of Dragons by Evan Winters. But I like that Best Served Cold's a standalone, and what I've learned about myself is I don't gravitate towards revenge stories. They are not the most interesting form of motivation for a character for me. I'm like, I get it, the world has wronged you. The world wrongs a lot of people. There are really interesting ways to respond to that, and sometimes just like one-track mind revenge is just like, not my thing. It can be done well. Like, I think what I would recommend for this is the Red Rising trilogy. I like it. Like, it's not like groundbreaking, but it's super fun. And I don't mind being in Darrow's head, which I think that's where you might have issues, is like you're with Darrow, he's kind of on a revenge arc, so that can be a little bit exhausting, but I think it's done pretty well in that story. All right, our next one is a mystery plot, and the hard mode is that it can't be in a primary world. It can be in a secondary world and an urban fantasy, but if it's an urban fantasy, it can't be in the primary world, which is our world. So like Dresden Files wouldn't count. And for you guys, I couldn't really think of one because I'm bad at mystery plots. I'm sure I read them all the time, but I feel like they're always on primary worlds when I like actively like think this is a detective plot. Actually, no, I have one. Look at me. City of Stairs by Robert Jackson Bennett. That is not on a primary world. It's actually not quite even contemporary anyways, so it's not really even urban fantasy, but there's definitely a mystery plot. That's like the main plot of it. It's like kind of spy mystery plot. But I highly recommend that trilogy. It's really good, and each one does have a compelling mystery, but for sure, City of Stairs. And what's nice about that trilogy is each book is kind of like a companion novel for the rest. I mean, there is a chronology to them, so you should read them in order, but like you follow a different main character in each one of the characters that you meet in the first book. It's very good. The one I'm doing for this is Piranesi, because I hear it's a mystery plot, and I've been meaning to read it ever since Michael Knipp talked about it on his channel. It's just like, I don't know. I didn't love The Starless Sea or The Thousand Doors of January, and I feel like this might be the one that's like the atmospheric fantasy read that I will like. And everyone who I know who's read it has really liked it. So I kind of, even if I don't like it, I just want to know. I just want to know, and it's only like 200 some pages, like unlike Susanna's other work, like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which is like 900 pages. I don't even know. It's very long. So that's what I'm choosing for my mystery read. The next one is comfort read. I'm not going to give you recommendations for this. You know yourself. You can use an additional reread for this square if you're doing normal mode, but I'm doing hard mode, so I'm not even using a reread. And I'm putting A Court of Silver Flames for this because romance fantasy is very comforting to me. I don't read it a lot because I don't think I can read it a lot because then it would lose its charm. But like after I film this, I'm about to go read that book, and I'm extremely comforted by it, especially when it's Sarah J. Maas. She's got a formula, and I like it. It's very comfortable to me. I like the formula. I like what she does. I think she does what she does specifically really well, and I totally get if you don't like it. But like, it's so nice to have such a consistent author where it's like, I want X. You provide X every time. Yes, I love it. And now, published in 2021. I have a lot of good recommendations for you. And the hard mode is a debut. There's a World Hoppers video that came out recently where a bunch of us talked about 2021 releases we read so far, so I'll link that down below. But specifically ones that I've talked about that are debut authors: The Conductors by Nicole Glover, and I believe The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna are both debut authors. They are both great fantasy books that I've read this year. I think also Winter's Orbit is a debut and a very good sci-fi book. And I think, let's see, The Conductors and Winter's Orbit are standalones. The Gilded One's the first in a series. All of those are great options for this square if you were looking for one by a debut author. I liked them all. The one that I'm doing is actually First Light by Casey Berger. And this is actually going to be really interesting for me. I'm really excited. It's a sci-fi, so I'm just excited in general for that. But the author is someone I did go to college with. We weren't close friends. We worked on problem sets together occasionally. We were both in the physics major. And she has actually a really interesting career path because she came to college in her mid-20s again after doing something else. So she was very intentional about her physics degree, has a PhD now, and decided to write this book. So it's her debut. And I'm really interested. I hope I like it, because obviously I will give it an honest review. But just full disclosure, I do know this human. I have interacted with her in the real world. But I like the premise of it. The cover is really interesting to me, mainly because I just think it's a good, bright color. It's nothing groundbreaking. It has a spaceship on it, but I'm excited about it. And this one is a debut for her, so that's what I'm doing. The next one is Cat Squasher, 500 plus pages, or hard mode is 800 plus pages. I'm going to read, this one's going to be Memories of Ice by Stephen Erickson, because that's the next big tome I know I'm reading. I probably could have put Mad Ship by Robin Hobb here. I have so many tomes that I read. My recommendation to you guys, The Stormlight Archives. I have a review for this, and it's actually one of the reviews I'm most proud of. because I do think I do a good job at helping someone figure out if this overhyped series is for them, because I do think it's a little overhyped. This is not a one-size-fits-all fantasy series, and not to gatekeep, it's not going to make everyone happy. It doesn't make everyone happy, and that's okay. It's one of my favorite ongoing series, actually, my favorite ongoing fantasy series, but I think I do a really good job in that video. So I offer that, but also Ship of Magic. It's also very good, and that's a chonker I've read this year. And now we've got SFF-related nonfiction. I don't have a recommendation for this. I have never read in this genre, but I do have one that I'm going to be reading that was recommended to me by Jocelyn from Yogi with a Book. And this is, well, I'll put it on the screen. Let's see if I can get this stupid spreadsheet to let me read the whole title that I've put out. Yes, Disfigured, on fairy tales, disability, and making space. And I just think this is going to be really interesting, talking about our history in fantasy and disability and presumably mental illness. I just think it'll be really interesting. The hard mode is like having it be like a recent published work, and I think this one definitely is recently published. Yeah, the last 5 years. I think this one came out like 2 years ago. And the next category is Latinx or Latin American author. Okay, so the hard mode is have less than 1,000 things on Goodreads. The one I'm recommending to you guys, and I will keep recommending until it finally does have more than 1,000, Each of Us a Desert by Marco Shiru. I have a review. I really like this book. This book is literally the definition of underrated. Like, read this book. It's so good. Like, it's so quiet, and like, I know it's not for everyone, but man, it's beautiful and doing everything I want unique fantasy to be doing. It's so different. It also still has tropes, because you need your tropes to help you be comfy, but like, I really loved this story. And the one I'm going to be reading is probably Illusionary by Zoraida Cordova. This is the second book in, I think it's the Hollow Crown series, and book one was Incendiary, which I really liked. And book two is coming out, I think, next month, and I really want to read it. I really need to see this character point of view that we're going to get in this book, like, so bad. This book brings me back all of my feelings of like when I used to read young adult as like a young adult. I'm just like shipping things, and I'm super stressed and tense, and it works for me on a lot of levels. But that's the one I'm probably reading. Next one is self-published. This one was so hard to do on hard mode because you have to do it when it has less than 50 ratings, which, like, I have a few that had it, but not a lot. Like, so there's one on my shelf right here, The Forever King by Ben Galley. That one has 75, which I still want to read, and I'm going to, but it doesn't work for this prompt. Winds of Strife currently still works. This is for shelf space, or the self-pub shelf space, so it might not stay below 50 for long, so I didn't want to use that one because it's like at 45. So by the time I read it, it might not be anymore. But then I remembered I just read Nine of Swords, which I talked about pretty frequently in my recent wrap-up, or Friday reads. Like, you can check that out. I give it like a pretty good discussion there about things I like and didn't like. And right now it has 7 reviews because it's not out yet. It comes out on May 15th. But I've read it, and it was before it had 50 ratings. So that works for this one, and I'm very excited about it, because that was hard. And now the next one actually was probably the hardest, the one that I was searching for. And this is reading a book in a forest setting, and it has to be completely in the forest setting for hard mode. I'm going to read Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. This whole trilogy's out. I've heard good things about it from Jashana and Sophia, and I asked them, and they're like, yes, this is in a forest. So this is my recommendation to you from them. I don't have any that are completely in a forest. The ones that I think about the most that have forest scenes are the Winter Night trilogy, like Bear and the Nightingale has a lot of forest, and Uprooted by Naomi Novik, but none of those are 100% in the forest. This next one is genre mashup. Hard mode is having 3 genres, but 2 is good for normal. I'm going to read The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams because I've been told it has fantasy, horror, and sci-fi elements. And honestly, that's why I bought the book, is because I heard how much of a genre mashup it is, and I'm like, yes. The one I'll offer to you guys, even though I don't love it that much, but a lot of people do, so I think it's worth trying, if only to be like, do I like it? Is this my hidden gem? And that's Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This has sci-fi, fantasy, kind of closed circle mystery, gothic vibe. I don't know what this book is. It's one of my complaints, but it works perfect for a genre mashup prompt, right? And now this next one has chapter titles. I'm going to use a Wheel of Time book. Wheel of Time book have chapter titles, and also the hard mode is having more than one word as the chapter title. Yeah, and I will offer you Wheel of Time. Like, you can read The Eye of the World or something like that. This next one is First Contact, and hard mode is Does Not Start a War, and I was told Children of Time works for this. I don't know for sure, but that's what I'm going to read because it's a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time. I think another one that I could recommend that works for this, it's a stretch, maybe, I don't know, but it's An Absolute Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. This could potentially work for that. Also, The Story of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. You know, that could work. It's in that short story collection. And yeah, that's what I'll say. Those are the ones that I think could work for hard mode for this. We have 3 left. We've got trans or non-binary main character. The one I offer to you guys is Phoenix Extravagant by Yoon-Ha Lee. Main character is non-binary. That's actually not quite common. Another one would be Finna. Although they do say for this bingo board, the goal is to be reading novels, so if you do read novellas, don't read too many of them. But Finna would work. One of the main characters in that is non-binary. The one I am most interested in, I have a few options for this, but the one that I'm probably going to read just because it sounds so cool, and that's The Vila. And this is like an episodic book. Like, each chapter is like a TV show. It's like written by a different person, because that's how, like, Doctor Who is not one person is writing all the Doctor Who episodes. Like, Neil Gaiman's written a few Doctor Who episodes. And so this is written by Yoon-Ha Lee, Becky Chambers, and Rivers Solomon, and a few others. And I'm like, all of you people have come together to write this sci-fi story? I have to see what it is. And I've been told that both main characters are trans, and I think one might be non-binary. Regardless, it should work. Which I'm not surprised with that crew. That crew's really good with LGBTQ representation in their books. And now, we have 2 more. One is debut work. And so reading the debut work of an author in the hard mode is someone who's had an AMA on Reddit. So you can check out Reddit for that. I found that Sarah Gailey had one. And I've, for some reason, decided this is the year of Sarah Gailey for me. I'm reading Upright Women Wanted right now. I want to read The Echo Wife. But what I'm doing here, their debut work is American Hippo, which has their first 2 novellas. And they've done an AMA. So that's who I'm doing. I can't quite give you a recommendation for this. There's a lot of authors to choose from. Go crazy. And the last one is Witches, and the hard mode is making sure the witch is the main character. A lot of people have been recommending Terry Pratchett, and I will say, equal rights. That's a pretty good starting point. It's probably pretty good. I would also say Baron the Nightingale. That one's really good. I would definitely say that. Also, if I don't say that, Evie's gonna, like, come for me. I feel like if I don't mention the Baron the Nightingale in every video now, Evie's just gonna, like, be in my comments being all angry. But that would work, and the one I'm going to read, because I've been meaning to forever, is Truth Witch by Suzanne Dennard. I think the series might be wrapping up soon, which means I kind of want to start reading it, because it's definitely, like, a series that for some reason my brain equates with Throne of Glass. I know it's not the same, but it equates it with that series where I didn't want to read that series until I could just, like, binge it out. And that's how I feel, and I know the main character is a witch. I mean, the title is Truth Witch. So that's what I'm going to choose. So these are my tentative plans for this bingo board, and I will do it. I'll probably end up just checking in, like, every quarter and being like, how have I done on my bingo board? Kind of like how I did in my quarter wrap-up. How am I doing on my other goals? I think that'll be a fun way to do it. I did try to, like, line this up with my other goals, which is why I think it's kind of fun. And so, yeah, let me know, are you going to do this bingo challenge? Every year, I want to do it. And I just think it'd be fun. I've spent days putting this list together, and I've had so much fun doing it, which is why I wanted to share it with you you Again, comment down below if you have any recommendations for some of these that you think I would really like if you want to really convince me to change my mind. Feel free. If you want to leave an emoji, I don't know if there's a bingo board emoji, but try it. Try to find one. Numbers would work too and stuff like that. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!